Hey there, Solo Sportsters. Have you been told that you have to get a specific shoe for a specific surface? Fear not. I'm here to answer if that is in fact true and what differentiates a clay court shoe from a hard court shoe, from a grass court shoe, and everything in between. Stick around, break it all down for you, and I'll let you know what to do next. Now, the first one I'm going to start with is the least common shoe, and quite frankly, the most useless shoe for the average tennis player, and that is going to be a grass court shoe. Now, grass court shoes are mostly for the pros on tour so that they can get better traction. And what you'll notice on the bottom is a lot of little nubs and nibbles. So this is supposed to replicate sort of what cleats are in soccer, but not so much so that it literally rips the court up after just one usage. You'll notice that even at a lot of country clubs that do have grass courts, they won't even allow you to wear grass court shoes on their grass courts because it will destroy their courts quicker. So that's really the main difference of what makes a grass court shoe a grass court shoe. The other things you might notice is a tighter mesh up at the top just to help prevent dirt from getting inside. And more often than not, if you do find a pair of grass court shoes, especially here in the States, it's going to almost definitely going to be an all white colorway. A, because most of the places that have grass courts are going to be country clubs. B, they're going to launch them during Wimbledon time when we're all thinking about the grass courts. And C, it works for just about anyone. I've never heard anyone object to a white colored shoe, except that they get dirty faster. Next up, let's talk about clay court shoes. Now, clay court shoes, just like with the grass court shoes, they'll tend to have a slightly tighter mesh than their hard court counterparts. Not always the case, but sometimes they do. And again, this is just to help prevent the clay from getting inside the shoe. Otherwise, all the rest of the shoe is going to be completely the same from a hard court to the clay court version of the shoe. The main difference is going to be the outsole. Now, the outsole here is what we call a full herringbone sole. In other words, it is uniform throughout. It is this zigzag pattern, and it is relatively deep. So A, it's easier to slide comfortably, to get better traction, and to slide more uniformly. If you have all sorts of different dimples and dots and dashes and all that sort of stuff, it can be very difficult to have a clean and predictable slide, and it can also be very difficult to get all the clay out of your shoes. So when you see the players take one of those long slides and they whack the shoes with their racket to help get the clay out of it for the next point, it's very important that these grooves are nice and open and uniform so that it's easy to then keep moving and get that traction that they need. Next up, I'll show you one example of a hard court shoe. And what mainly differentiates a hard court shoe from all these others is, again, the outsole is the principal difference. You'll notice here that there isn't a uniform tread pattern. There are all sorts of different dimples and cross patterns. So this is just for getting good traction on the hard court. Every company has done millions and millions of dollars worth of research to figure out where they want to put more cushioning, how they want to set up their tread pattern, and each one will justify it for their own reasons. But the main thing to just pick up from this is that A, it's generally not uniform throughout the shoe. B, there are different tread patterns, so there's maybe a circular one. And the main other difference is that the outer rubber itself is going to be much thicker and more durable. For those of us Looney Tunes who love to slide on hard courts, you really want that rubber to be a little bit thicker so that it can take more of a beating. Additionally, you notice with the uppers that they might be a more open mesh to make them more breathable because a hard court is going to be, A, not going to have any dirt or sand that's going to get into the shoe, so no harm, no foul there. And B, you might get a little hotter on a hard court because the heat radiates up from the court. So making a shoe more breathable can definitely be advantageous. But the main things that make a hard court shoe, again, that outsole, and they probably have a little more cushioning and a little more support just because you are taking more of a beating from the harder surface. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, you're probably wondering why I have 4 shoes when there are only 3 surfaces. No, this isn't about carpet. We've all moved on from that. But what I do have here is what I will call, or what is called, a modified herringbone sole. So what you'll notice is this outsole is slightly different than the clay one here, but it has a similar pattern. Now, what I think is really great is if you bounce between surfaces and you're here in the States, it's great if you can find a outsole like this so you can move from hard court to clay courts and not really worry too much. I think you'll get all the benefits that you need from a clay court shoe and all the benefits you'd want from a hard court shoe. in one shoe. So I think it's a great way to get a 2-in-1. That said, I think for most of us, what's most important is that you are playing in a tennis shoe at all, so that you can get that lateral support, that cushioning, all the things that are really great for making sure that you stay healthy on court, don't hurt yourself, get good traction, and are able to be comfortable all throughout the day and all throughout your match. So as I touched on a little bit when I talked about the modified herringbone sole here in the States especially, it can be very tough to find, especially grass court shoes and even clay court shoes at times. So I think what's important is that you really just find a model of a shoe that really works for you and your foot. I think that's a more important thing than the outsole, especially because none of us are going on tour anytime soon. So I think making sure we're in good footwear, that we're changing it frequently, that we're comfortable, and that it provides the support and cushioning that we need is the absolutely most important thing. So if you're playing exclusively on clay and you can find a clay court shoe, that's fantastic. If you're playing exclusively on hard courts and you choose a hard court shoe, that's fantastic. I think the where we get stuck is when a coach or a friend or someone tells you you have to get a clay court shoe when this is just patently not true. I think it's useful to have a clay court shoe. I don't think it's going to make or break your tennis career at the 3.0, 4.0 level or above or even slightly below. So I think what's most important, again, is that you find a model of a shoe that works for your foot and that makes you feel comfortable on court. And the more you play and the more you get into your equipment, the more you'll notice and feel these things. And if it's important to you, that's great. But don't feel pressured that you have to get a clay court shoe for a clay court and a hard court shoe for a hard court or a grass court shoe for a grass court. Because again, like I mentioned with the grass court shoes, you may not even be allowed to wear it. So check in on the rules at your local clubs. But always, I think the most important thing is that you're finding a shoe that works for you. Well, that about wraps it up. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that it has helped answer the question of what differentiates a hard court shoe from a clay court shoe from a grass court shoe. Let us know down in the comments which shoe models are your favorites, which ones we should review next, and if you've used all these different types of shoes and what your thoughts are on this. And as always, we look forward to seeing you in the next video.